All right, hello class. We're going to talk about Figma today and just how to get up and running with Figma, and specifically how we can work on our login page. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go to figma.com. It's going to take you to this. So Figma is a free application for now, and it's great because it's collaborative and it is super easy to use. I would say it's kind of a combination between Illustrator and InDesign. So I'm going to log in with my Gmail. And that's going to bring you to kind of your dashboard here. So what we're going to do is make a new design file just to kind of show a couple things. So when I come here, first thing I probably want to do is click where it says untitled. And I'm going to do, the name of my app, right? So whatever that would be. And we are going to see that there's nothing on this board. So we need to make our phone size. So if you go to this little tool here, this frame, we can add an artboard, and that's kind of where it all begins. So if we click frame, it's going to give us some options of what size frame. Now, what you want to do is pick the same size as your phone. So I am a 13. So I'm going to click 13 because when we test, we're going to test on your phone and we want it to be the same size. We don't have to skew it if possible. And you can see here, it made that artboard. Now, what I'm going to do is if I click the word where it says iPhone 13, 13 Pro, I can rename this artboard. So this is going to be a picture of my screen. So I'm going to just call it phone home screen. Super important to name every one of your artboards because we're going to have a ton of them by the end. Now you can see over here, it renamed it. So these coincide, which is great. And I want to just go over how you can just bring in some JPEGs or pings. So I am going to find the image for my home screen. So I'm going to do iPhone 13 home screen and just grab something from in here to use. You could take a picture from your home screen, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to save this on my desktop. Great. And then what's nice about Figma too is it's drag and drop. So I'm going to select this screen so it knows that that's where I want to import it in. And I'm just going to drag it and drop it right onto there. I can go to the corners and resize. If I hold shift, it'll stay within proportion. There we go. So I have my home screen and I can see that I can make that a little bit smaller so it fits a little bit better. We get there where that's perfect. Okay. So what I would do now is I could bring in my artboard, right? So I could bring in my app icon and drop that in to use that can add it to that space. So I don't think I have any, let me just see if I have any branding sheets on here. No, I don't have anything on here that I could add, but we could drag it right in the same way. All right, so we can drop in images, pings, JPEGs. We can't drop in PDFs or AI. They have to be a web file. Now let's just get a little bit more of a tour of this since we have our home screen kind of set up. So I'm going to make another screen. So I'm going to come over here and make another one. And I can click the frame and then come over here and click that same size. Now, another thing, if I want to make these a little quicker, once we start making copies, I could just select this artboard. By selecting it, you'll see it becomes blue, and copying and pasting, and it'll paste it as well. So feel free to copy and paste and do what you have to do there. Now, once we click on the app, you'll probably have like a splash screen, right? And that splash screen would probably be like a logo that's animated or a loading screen or something like that. So that could be here. So I'm just going to call this my loading screen. And then after the loading screen, it will probably go into the login. So every single screen will be on a different artboard. So my login screen, I'm going to just show you a couple things here. So our toolbar across the top, the Figma icon on the left is how I can go back to my files, go back to the dashboard for Figma and re-enter or go to a different app. You could also see that we could file, we could make a new one. We could save it locally on the computer itself. It's always going to save in the cloud automatically. We could export as the frames as PDFs if we want to. We could edit and do copy and paste. We could pick a color, get a little color picker guy here to kind of, if I wanted to save this, which we can talk about shortly. What else can we do in here? Tons of stuff. So we could view a grid. We could view our rulers. So if you wanted to, oops, I'm still on this color picker. Do anything with that. You could change text, arrange your layers, send them to the front or send them to the back. We'll be talking about plugins in a second, some preferences, libraries. There is a desktop version of this application that you could download. I've never used it. I love the cloud-based application. It's free. It's not taking up room in my computer. So I recommend that. And then the next one is kind of our selection tool, right? This is our move tool, just like in Illustrator or in InDesign, that we can move aspects around. If we have this, you can see I can move my whole screen around, or I can move an image on that screen. So this is how we can move items. We could scale items. This is the frame tool that we'll use, all our shapes. Also how you can place an image. So you can place it in just like in Illustrator, or you could drop it in. Pen tool and pencil, type, some components and plugins, which again, we're going to talk about plugins in a second. The hand tool, and then some comments, which is what I will use to make some comments on things. All right, so today we're going to do the basic. There's a couple more over here that we're going to be able to edit object and create components and make a mask and all this, but let's just get the basics down first. So let me go back to my selection tool. We're going to go on the loading screen. So let's say we want to have an image as our background on our loading screen. What we could use is one of the plugins. So not components, if we go to the plugins. Now I recommend Pexels. I use it all the time for stock images. It's free. You can see here, you can run it. I already have it run, so you can kind of see that here. And we can run Pexels. So what happens is a pop-up comes up. And in here, this only works within Figma. I can search for an image. So say I'm doing some kind of running application here. I can search running and see all these stock photos that I don't even have to download to my computer. They're all right in here and just free to use. So I'm going to pick one of these, and I'm just going, oops, I'm going to double click on it with that loading screen, that box selected, and it places that image into that rectangle. So essentially what it does is whatever rectangle you make, so if I make a square, oops, with the rectangle tool, and then I double click on an image, it's going to place that into there. And you can see I could resize this, and it's going to kind of do all the work for us. So you need to make a box first, have it selected, and then you can double click from Pexels. You can also see these corners, like Illustrator, I could round this if I wanted to change the shape of that box. I could pick tons of different shapes. I could pick a star and put that in there, so on and so forth. So super easy to use stock photos from Pexels. And when I'm done, I'm just going to X out of this. You can see there's some, and we can also insert a random image. So if you're really in a pinch and you want something quick, you click that, it'll just pick one for you from this download, which is pretty cool. All right, I'm going to go back to the one that I wanted because I like the negative space on that. Figma is designed to be quick, right? It's not supposed to be clunky. It's supposed to make things really easy. So now we have that. This is going to be our loading screen. I could bring in my logo, and I don't have one right now. So I'm going to, I guess I'll just put a star there for now, because this is going to be where my logo would be. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start worrying about my colors. So we want to be able to save our colors to be able to use. So we have our branding sheet that we have our hex colors. So what we can do is make a shape. I'll make a different shape just so, and I'm just going to make this outside so you can use your negative space, right? You don't have to be on an artboard. I always use the outside of this. I'm just going to make a square. I'm just going to make a couple squares so I can have my 3 colors. And maybe I'm going to have 2 colors and a gradient, whatever's on my branding sheet. So with selecting my first box here, I'm going to come over to the right side. These are our palettes. So we can see here we have align palettes. We have our X and Y coordinates. We have the width and the height of that square. We could round the edges of that square if we wanted to. You could change the blending mode. We have fill, stroke, effects, and export. So fill is where we're going to choose our color. So if I click on this, I can type in my hex color for this. And I'm just going to pick something here for now. And then once I'm happy with that, I can close that out. And you see these 4 little circles. Click that. This is style, that I can hit the plus sign and I can save this swatch. So this is going to be my primary color. You can see it's always going to be right there. And then let's say this next box, I'm going to input my hex color for that. And I'm going to hit that again and make another new color and call this my secondary color. Now, the nice thing about this is I'm not using the word blue or cyan because you can change this later. So if I do my full app and then the client says, that blue's too bright, can we make it more navy? I can go back in here and edit this color. So I can click on it and edit it through Figma. So really nice to be able to do. So if I go here, let me just see here, edit style by clicking on it, and I could change this color and it would change everywhere that primary color is used. Really helpful. All right, and this one I'm just going to change to a darker gray. 4343. There we go. And I have these colors. So now I can use these colors whenever I want. This is going to be my text color. This can also work for gradients. So I could use a gradient. So I'm going to actually use my gradient. So I'm going to use that as my login screen background. So I'm going to make a big rectangle here. And I'm going to click this color. And instead of a solid, I'm going to make it linear. And I'm going to choose the colors I want. So I could do that blue to that cyan. And then close that out. And then I can save that the same way. Pretty cool. All right, so we can save our colors. Now fonts, for the most part, Figma is going to use the fonts that are on your desktop, but what you might need to do is go to figma.com/downloads. And if you scroll down, there's if you have a Mac or a PC, depending, this is a font installer, which will allow Figma to use the fonts on your website. So you want to make sure to download that and install it. So I'm going to open that up, double click on it. Maybe it'll give me permission. All right, installed. So now I can use the fonts on my computers. So if I come over here and go to my text tool and just click, I can type, do the name of my app here. This, Going to zoom in because I can't see. And move that to where we want it. Over here on the right side, you can see that I can choose my typeface from this list. Now, they have a lot of fonts that are already installed. So I'm just going to pick something that I'm familiar with. So remember, our apps use sans serif typefaces, but we just use Roboto. There we go. And then we can increase the size, so on and so forth. I can make this bold. Now, just like the colors, I can save this style so I can keep reusing it. Over here, we have the 4 little circles again that I can sit here and add and say, this is my headline or my H1, my H2, my H3, which you would eventually, when you would pass this off to a coder, would be very thankful that this is all organized. Probably on this login screen is where we'd also want to do our onboarding. So maybe your onboarding might be a couple circles that you add here to kind of show. One thing you'll see a lot in, and I'm going to copy and paste these, that you'll see a lot in app design is drop shadows. So there is effects down here on the right-hand side. So if I click that, you can see it adds a drop shadow. If I click the little sun, you can see that I could adjust this. So if we wanted to, not have it so far down and increase the blur a little bit more, or change the color of that to be, say, like one of mine, we could totally do that. So this could be our swipe. So we went over fonts, we went over colors. Another thing that's really nice is you can copy and paste icons from Illustrator. So as long as you have those pre-made, you can bring those over pretty easy by copying and pasting. But if you need another icon, if you go to your plugins and search at the top here for icons, this Iconify is really great. And if you run Iconify, you'll find a lot of icons that you don't even have to search. So for instance, if I wanted the Facebook icon for my login page, you can see here that I could choose which one I wanted. It'll show me down here and I can import that icon. There it is. I'm going to bring it over to this login screen and I can make it larger. I can change the color of it. And have really easy icons to add to my page. All right, finally, I'm going to need the link to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. We're going to share this. And we're going to, we're going to invite and get a link so you can send it to me. So I'm going to copy the link by hitting this copy link button. And then I can shoot this over to me. So I have it so I can kind of watch this. I can send, I can put comments on it, so forth and so on.